Today, we're taking a focused look at school security right here in Houston.
Mm-hmm. It's a really important topic.
Absolutely. And we've got some interesting sources to guide us. Info from a local company, Reliable Security plus RSP, about their approach.
Right. Their specific strategy for schools.
A testimonial from a Houston principal who actually uses them, which is great firsthand insight.
Yeah, always good to have that ground level view.
And then some broader context from the Pew Research Center on school security measures nationwide.
So comparing the local with the national trends.
Exactly. Our mission for this deep dive is to give you, the listener, a really clear understanding of the Houston school security landscape and how a company like RSP aims to, well, meet those needs.
Okay, where should we start? With RSP itself.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, Reliable Security Plus, they're a Houston company.
Local, yeah. And interestingly, they don't just do schools. Their profile shows they handle security for, homes, businesses, even government clients.
That's a good point. That wider experience could definitely inform how they approach schools, maybe bring a different perspective.
Could do. It suggests a breadth of operational knowledge, perhaps.
And when you look at what they list for schools, it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
You've got the uniformed officers, facility protection, but also things like security training consulting.
And those vulnerability assessments, which seems crucial.
Right. It feels like they're aiming for more than just, putting a guard at the door. It's more strategic.
Well, they have this philosophy, customer service-oriented protection, which sounds interesting in a security context.
It does, yeah. How do you balance being helpful and customer service focused with the actual, sometimes hard-edged needs of security?
That's the question, isn't it? They talk about preventing loss of life and property, but doing it with helpful professional assistance, surveillance, engaging with people, crisis management. It's a blend.
And their mission statement talks about reestablishing safety as a basic right, using well-trained people at an affordable rate. They even have that tagline, duty with a smile.
Duty with a smile. It certainly sets a specific tone.
It does. Then there's their vision, safer communities through collaboration. Businesses, community leaders, law enforcement, security, all working together.
And their core values, that DRPP acronym, diversity, reliability, integrity, professionalism, partnership.
The reliability is interesting, duty first, and partnership, a we attitude.
So it suggests they're trying to position themselves not just as contractors, but as, partners, integrated into the school community. That we attitude is key for a school setting, I'd imagine.
Definitely. So, okay, how are they actually pitching this to Houston schools? What's their strategy?
Well, a big part of it seems to be customization, tailored solutions.
Right, not a one-size-fits-all package.
Exactly. They emphasize adapting plans based on the school's size, its location, even the student demographics. They talk about solutions being customized, respectful, and sensitive.
Which probably sounds really good to principals and school boards. Every school is different.
Precisely. And another major point is being proactive, preventative measures.
Going beyond just reacting to incidents.
Yeah. Things like those vulnerability assessments, security planning before something happened, trying to create that safe environment up front.
Which is a shift you see generally in security, moving towards prevention.
Definitely. It's less about just response, more about risk mitigation.
And this is where that Pew Research data kind of slots in nicely, right?
It does.
Yeah.
RSP highlights their expertise in key practices, and Pew shows just how common some of these are now.
Like restricted building access. Pew says that's, 97% of schools?
Almost universal. Same with visitor sign-in, 98%. So when RSP lists access control as a service, they're hitting a standard expectation.
And active shooter plans, lockdown drills again, Pew finds those are incredibly widespread, 96% and 98% respectively.
So RSP mentioning their liaison with law enforcement becomes really relevant for that kind of emergency planning. They're aligning with established best practices, or at least common practices.
Then there's the personnel aspect. They really stress having trained and professional staff.
Which is absolutely critical in a school. Their mission mentions exceptionally trained, well-groomed, and reliable professionals. They detail their hiring, vetting, training processes.
It's not just about presence, it's about competence and being suited for that specific sensitive environment.
Right. You need people who understand how to operate effectively, but also appropriately within a school culture.
And they also offer off-duty police officers. That's another angle.
Yeah, and the Pew data shows about half of public schools already have sworn law enforcement on site.
So RSP is tapping into that existing model, maybe offering schools a way to get that level of security, potentially enhancing those law enforcement connections.
It seems like a strategic offering, yes. It addresses a known demand or preference in many districts.
And this all ties back to that collaboration idea too, doesn't it? Their core value of partnership.
It does. They talk about engaging with school boards, parent groups, tailoring solutions together, that we attitude again, trying to be seen as part of the solution, not just an outside vendor.
And they're not shying away from the tough stuff. They mention specific concerns. Violence, active shooters referencing past tragedies like Columbine, Sandy Hook.
But also bullying, drugs, theft, vandalism, the everyday issues schools grapple with, too.
Yeah. And then they connect their services, access control, surveillance, trained people, that at-risk profiling liaison they mentioned directly to tackling those threats.
It's a way of saying, here are the problems, and here's specifically how we can help address them.
Plus, being a Houston company probably helps. Local presence, local understanding.
That can be a significant advantage. Accessibility, maybe a better grasp at the local context compared to a big national firm. Their value of reliability and having easy contact info reinforces that.
Okay, so to make this more concrete, we have that testimonial from Zuhaira Razak, principal at ILM Academy here in Houston. They've used RSP since 2016.
Right, and she seems pretty happy with them.
Yeah, very pleased. What jumps out from her comments?
Well, she praises the professionalism, specifically mentioning a Marshall Isom and how easy he is to work with. That relationship aspect is huge in security.
Definitely. Smooth communication is key.
Huh?
She also notes the GARs are receptive, willing to make adjustments based on the school's needs.
Which circles back to that tailored solutions promise. It suggests it's not just marketing speak, they actually do adapt.
And this part's interesting. She says the GARD participates in their security meetings, offers valuable input from their experience.
That shows a deeper level of integration, doesn't it? Not just standing post, but actually contributing to the school's own security planning and thinking.
Yeah, like a true partner. And she mentions both GARDs they've had military experience, which she felt provided valuable insight for handling threats.
So that might be a specific profile RSP seeks out, or perhaps just what this particular school has experienced, but the principal clearly valued that background.
So let's look closer at the actual services RSP lists for schools. It's a detailed list.
It is. Starts with that integrated risk assessment, emergency routes, egress plans.
And again, considering school size, location, demographics, even nearby traffic and crime stats. Very granular.
Right. Then you have the expected things. Access control during hours, after hours, weekend surveillance, CCTV, motion sensors.
Personnel vetting and training is on there, of course. And security training for school faculty and staff, too.
That's important building capacity within the school itself.
And then there's that at-risk profiling liaison with counselors and psychologists.
That one stands out. It suggests a more holistic approach, connecting security with the school's student support systems, identifying potential issues early.
It hints at prevention again, maybe.
Yeah.
And they also mention security profiles for other contractors, liaison with local law enforcement and emergency services, and consulting with school boards and parent groups.
It really covers a lot of bases, from physical security to policy and collaboration. Seems quite thorough on paper.
Okay, let's weave the Pew Research findings back in more directly. We mentioned access control and drills being common. What else does Pew tell us that relates here?
Well, Pew highlights the increasing use of security cameras. That lines up with RSP offering surveillance and CCTV.
Right. Pew also mentions anonymous threat reporting systems becoming more common. RSP doesn't list that specifically for schools, but maybe it falls under their general consulting or liaison work.
Possibly. Or it might be something schools handle internally. But the overall trend towards more tech-based monitoring is clear, and RSP seems equipped for that surveillance side.
And Pew concerns the growing presence of security staff generally. Most K-12 schools have someone, often weekly, and we already noted the roughly 50% with sworn officers.
Yeah, so RSP providing both traditional guards and off-duty police fits right into that national picture. They're meeting a demand that clearly exists.
Pew also talks about threat assessment teams being common in schools. RSP mentions that at-risk profiling liaison, but it's not quite the same as detailing how they'd integrate with or support a formal threat assessment team.
Yeah.
That's maybe an area for clarification.
That's a fair point. How exactly does their liaison role work with the school's established protocols for assessing potential threats? It's a key operational detail.
But overall, the Pew data suggests schools are heavily focused on security measures, and RSP's service list seems designed to hit many of those key areas, especially tailored for Houston.
Yes, the alignment seems pretty strong. They're positioning themselves as a local provider offering solutions that match national trends and priorities.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What are the key takeaways here?
Well, we have Reliable Security Plus, a Houston-based company, clearly making a focused push into the school security market.
Right. Their approach seems built on customization, being proactive rather than just reactive, emphasizing well-trained personnel, and really stressing collaboration with the school.
Their services line up pretty well with the kinds of security measures Pew Research shows are becoming standard practice across the U.S. access control, surveillance, emergency planning, personnel presence.
And that testimonial from the ILM Academy principal adds some real-world weight, suggesting they can deliver on that partnership and responsiveness promise.
It paints a picture of a company trying to be comprehensive and locally attuned, navigating that complex balance between robust security and the specific needs of a learning environment.
They seem to be trying to embed themselves as part of the school's safety ecosystem, not just an add-on.
Exactly. Aiming for that partner role they talk about.
So that brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. When you consider all the different facets of school safety, the technology, the people, the plans, the community connections, what do you think is the single most crucial element for an effective security plan?
Is there one thing that stands out above all others?
And thinking beyond just the security providers, how can communities, all of us really, best support the safety and the well-being of students and educators in our schools? Something important to reflect on.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.